got more PMI news. More, yes, this time in Nigeria. Nigeria's Manufacturing Purchasing Managers Index for August stood at 48.5 points, indicating a contraction in the manufacturing sector for the fourth consecutive month, while PMI for the non-manufacturing sector stood at 44.7 points in August, indicating contraction in the non-manufacturing activities for the fifth consecutive month. So we bring the PMI conversation to Nigeria, and joining me to discuss this is the Managing Director of Cowry Asset Management, Mr. Johnson Chukwu. Good afternoon to you, sir. Thank you so much for joining us on the Global Business Report. So we've been talking about U.S. manufacturing, Europe, China, they're all above 50. Nigeria is still below the 50-point threshold. What do you make of where we are now as far as those numbers are concerned?
Well, notice what I would actually say is that those numbers are actually great improvement from where we were in July. I mean, July figure was just about 44 points, and we've actually seen an increase. Even the non-manufacturing PMI, July was 43. We're now talking about 44.7 in August. Remember that Nigeria is not, Nigerian manufacturing industry is actually a very weak sector. Basically, that sector is hemmed in by several negative factors. You have to deal with the issue of power supply, infrastructural deficiency, like transport infrastructure, cost of funding, several factors. So we don't even have a vibrant and very robust manufacturing sector, unlike you have in Western countries like Germany, or you have in other African countries such as South Africa. Our manufacturing sector is not as robust as even what it used to be in the past. So the fact that we are seeing still that sector in the contractionary territory is not strange. It shouldn't be surprising to anybody. Thank
you for that, sir. So if manufacturing is as weak as it is there cause to be, and again, as we're looking at these numbers now, overall manufacturing PMI and so on, but is there cause to be optimistic about the African Continental Free Trade Agreement and the potential for trade within the region? How do you approach that?
Well, my take on the African Continental Free Trade Zone is that we, as the largest populated economy in the world, have some natural advantages which we have not begun to exploit. And that's basically the reason is that industries, one of the key criteria for locating industries is closeness to the market. We already have the market. But the challenge you have today is that we are not an efficient manufacturer. We are in a situation where smaller countries may take advantage of even our market. And then companies will go and set up in those countries like Ghana, like countries like Benin Republic, Togo, where they will enjoy stronger infrastructural support. And because our market is proximate to some of those countries, they will produce in those countries and supply to Nigeria. So if we don't build our infrastructure and improve on our supply of critical infrastructure, then we may not take the full advantage that we should enjoy as the economy with the largest population, the largest economy in Africa, when African Continental Free Trade Agreement comes into force fully.
Thank you for that. So should we, I think services makes up the largest portion of the economy. I think services is about 53, 54%, agri at 24%, and then industry is 23%. Should I guess with where we are in manufacturing, Nigeria focus more on services. Should that be where the thrust is, or should we still try and get infrastructure to where it is so we can boost manufacturing?
We must get the manufacturing sector alive and running. We must get whatever support they need to make that sector a viable sector. The very simple thing is that any country that's highly populated must build an economy that is productive. Otherwise, you are going to have high rate of unemployment like we have today. We're dealing with about 27.1% unemployment rate. If you have a vibrant manufacturing sector, it will absorb a significant portion of that those number of people that are unemployed. You can't have an economy or a country where you have a huge population and you want to be a service-oriented economy. China is succeeding today because China had to orient the economy towards manufacturing. Germany is a manufacturing hub in Europe, and Germany is one of the largest populated countries in Europe. Countries that are small populated prefer to be service industry driven, but we are not in that segment or that of the population threshold. We must build an economy that is strong in manufacturing so that we'll absorb the large pool of unemployed youths.
Thank you, sir. Speaking of manufacturing, I want to see how long you think it would take us to get to this level. I was at a store, a South African, I think everybody knows the store this is, a store, South African store, purchased a lamp, which I thought was made in Europe because it had the name Euro in the title. But when I Googled it, it was actually a South African company. It was actually made in South Africa. And I thought about the number, or it's game. I think everybody knows where game is. I was talking about the number of African countries where game is located and the fact that they are stocked full of made in South African products. At what point, Mr. Chukwu, can we get to where we have Nigerian stores in other countries selling lamps, extension cords, slippers, rubber bands, whatever, what have you, to that level? How long do you think it will take us to get there?
I wouldn't know how long it takes us. But what I would say is that we need to start today. And a few things we need to do. We need to build infrastructure support. We need to improve the quality of labor. We need to improve the efficiency of labor. Then we now talk of issues about improving, creating market for our products. I remember when I was growing up, in a place like Aba became a hub for manufacturing of small items, leather-oriented items, textile items. And at that point, people were coming from countries like Benin Republic, as far as Gabon, as far as Congo Democratic Republic, to come and buy products from Aba. And so you found out that a lot of products that were made in Aba were actually being used in those countries. But today, that is not the case. For you to get to that point where South Africa is, you must have an efficient manufacturing industry. We don't have that. And for you to have an efficient manufacturing industry, a lot of things have to come into place. One, what is your supply of critical infrastructure? Why is China a cheap economy that manufactures cheaply? Because they have one of the most efficient infrastructure supply. Look at their road network, look at their rail services, look at the power supply and the cost of power supply, and then added to the quality and the size of their population, which has created a cheap labor market environment for them. And then you look at the quality of education. We need to address all those things for you to be a hub for manufacturing activities. Without that, and they have to tell you one thing, it will take at least 10 years for you to build the competencies in terms of quality of labor that you need to produce cheaply and efficiently. You need to take us a couple of years to build a supporting infrastructure, transport infrastructure particularly, energy infrastructure, power supply. We need to do those things. But we need to start immediately. When we start and the speed at which we are running will determine, our run rate will determine how quickly we get there. But it's something that's inevitable we must do for giving our population.
Thank you, sir. We're only got about a minute to go. So briefly, if you can, that's all a lot. Education, infrastructure, rail network. Is power the silver bullet? Should we just focus on that first, as in a minute if you can?
Power will contribute a lot to improve on our cost of doing business, but it's not a silver bullet. We other supporting infrastructure that also have to be built. We need to have a efficient rail system. We need to have quality labor. Power will drastically reduce the cost of doing business in the country, but it will not address all the issues.
All right, the CEO of Cowry Asset Management, Mr. Johnson Chukwu, thank you so much for joining us to talk about Nigeria's latest August figures for PMI, Purchasing Manufacturing Index. Once again, Nigeria PMI manufacturing August 48.5, fourth consecutive month of contraction, and for non-manufacturing 44.7, fifth consecutive month. A lot to do to get to where we need to be to start exporting lamps and a whole bunch of other items.